The year is 1848 and England is in the throes of an industrial revolution. For the men, women and children who toil in its factories, it's a time of great hardship. They work long hours for starvation wages, but they dream of one day owning their own businesses, and some even dare to dream of love in the heart of this turmoil. Stands our heroine, Eliza Doone, the 21-year-old daughter of a poor baker. She is known throughout the town for her delicious bread, which she sneaks out of her father E's shop and gives to the hungry workers who are striking for better pay. But when the factory owner's son, Julian Bell, catches her in the act, he becomes intrigued by her and her secret recipes. Can love really conquer all? Well, let's find out. It was a cold November evening in 1848. The wind howled through the streets of Manchester, England, rattling the windows of the small bakery where Elias Dunn lived with her family. Her father, Thomas, was a kind but struggling baker who was known for his fresh loaves of bread. But lately business had been slow and the family was struggling to make ends meet. Meanwhile, outside the bakery, a group of men were gathered together, talking in hushed tones about the upcoming strike. They were the workers from the nearby textile factory owned by the wealthy Bell family. For weeks, they had been trying to negotiate for higher wages and better working conditions, but Mr. Bell had been unmoved. Desperate for a solution, they had decided to strike until their demands were met. As the men discussed their plans, they didn't notice Elias watching them from behind the bakery window. She couldn't bear to see the men and their families go hungry, so she did something that would change everything. Every evening after her father had gone to bed, Elias would sneak into the kitchen and bake a few extra loaves of bread. She would then take these loaves out of the back door and give them to the striking workers, making sure that no one saw her. The workers were overjoyed with Elias's generosity and began calling her the Angel of Manchester. One evening, as Elias was making her deliveries, she heard a voice behind her. So the famous Angel of Manchester has been unmasked. She turned around to see a young man with a kind face and twinkling eyes. It was Julian Bell, the eldest son of the factory owner. He had been watching her for the past few days and had finally decided to confront her. He explained that he knew she was responsible for the bread and wanted to know why she was doing it. Elias hesitated but eventually told him about her father's failing business and how the workers were going hungry. She also told him about the secret recipe that her grandmother had passed down to her, a recipe that made her bread so delicious that people came from all over the city to buy it. Julian was impressed by Elias's kindness and her determination to help the workers. He also couldn't help but be intrigued by her stories of the secret recipe. He asked if she could teach him how to make the bread, and she agreed. They met every evening in the bakery, and Julian helped Elias make bread for the striking workers. As they worked side by side, they got to know each other better and began to fall in love. But their romance was forbidden. Julian's family were staunch supporters of the factory owners, while Elias's family were loyal to the striking workers. If anyone found out about their relationship, they would be in danger. Undeterred, Julian and Elias continued to meet in secret, and their love grew stronger. Meanwhile, the strike dragged on and the workers became more and more desperate. Food was running low, and many families were on the verge of starvation. Elias wanted to do more to help, so she decided to use her grandmother E's secret recipe to open a bakery that would provide food for the striking workers and their families. She borrowed money from a sympathetic local businessman and opened a small bakery in an abandoned building. With Julian's help, she baked bread, cakes, and pies, which she sold at cost price to the striking workers. The bakery became a hub of activity as the workers gathered together to eat and discuss the strike. As the days went by, the bakery became more and more successful, and Elias was able to expand her business. She hired the wives and daughters of the striking workers, giving them a chance to earn money while their husbands and fathers were on strike. She also began to hold dances and parties at the bakery, giving the people of Manchester a much-needed respite from their troubles. But not everyone was happy with Elias's success. Mr. Bell, the owner of the textile factory, was furious that she was undermining his authority and taking food away from his workers. He threatened to have her arrested if she didn't stop, but Elias stood firm. She refused to let him bully her into submission, and the people of Manchester rallied around her. They began to boycott Mr. Bell's products, buying only from businesses that supported Elias. This put a lot of pressure on Mr. Bell, and he eventually agreed to meet with the striking workers to negotiate a settlement. The workers were overjoyed, and they celebrated by holding a huge feast at Elias's bakery. It was here that Julian finally confessed his love for Elias. He told her that he had realized that his family's wealth had blinded him to the suffering of the workers and that he was ashamed of his father's behavior. He promised to support Elias no matter what, and she returned his love. But their happiness was short-lived. The next day, Mr. Bell called the police and had Elias arrested for stealing his workers away from him. Julian was furious, but he knew that he couldn't defy his father, so he went to the police station to bail Elias out. As they were leaving, he turned to Elias and said, "I love you, Elias. Don't ever forget that." Then he took her hand and kissed it before she disappeared into the crowd. At the trial, Elias was charged with the crime of conspiracy to defraud. She could have easily pleaded guilty and served a short prison sentence. But she refused to let Mr. Bell win. She pleaded not guilty and told the judge that she had only wanted to help the striking workers. The judge was moved by her story and acquitted her of all charges. The crowd outside the courthouse cheered, and Elias and Julian rushed into each other's arms. They were finally free to be together. In the end, Julian's love for Elias was stronger than his fear of his father. He left the family business and set up his own factory, one that treated its workers fairly and paid them good wages. He and Elias lived happily ever after, proving that love really can conquer all. And that's the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed this historical love story. If you did, please don't forget to hit the like button below and subscribe for more historical love stories and historical cooking stories. Thank you for watching.